Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Super Show podcast. As you can notice, we have an extra person joining us today because this is episode number 200. It's crazy that we actually got to this point. But yeah, today, Jamie is here, of course, as always. But Chris.
Hello.
If you don't recognize Chris was on the podcast for most of it and left 9 months ago. But he's back.
9 months
celebrate.
ago. It's like I got pregnant or something.
Yeah, it's like you went away, had a child, and now you're back.
And I'm back. I'm back.
And he's the baby's come out.
I'm baby body fit or whatever. Yeah. Oh, anyway.
Well,
nice.
you are actually nursing a bit of a baby right now. It's a poo baby.
It's a poo
I know
baby.
we weren't supposed to tell people at home that, but
Hey man, I'm living my truth. There's stuff percolating in there, and there may be a pause somewhere in this recording.
Yeah.
This
And
is too
you'll know
much
why.
information for
for
people
any
at
editors
home.
out there with a keen eye, look out for the slice point in the middle of this podcast where Chris has to go and evacuate.
Fellas, can I just say something? Okay, you're saying it's too much. Okay, I think that the problem when I left was there was not enough of this.
Oh, okay.
There's not enough of this.
We have had some comments, to be fair, Jonesy, of that nature.
Yeah, it's like, where's the dick man?
There have been, yeah. Asa Akira, Dix.
If I disappear, who out of you two becomes the dick man?
We don't have a designated
Yeah.
dick man.
That's the problem.
Well,
You-
because
you guys
no
are dropping
dick
the ball
man.
here.
I think having a dick, when you have a two-man podcast and one man becomes a dick man, the other man becomes like the awkward straight guy.
The vag man?
Yeah, the vag man. And it just becomes an awkward dynamic, dick man and vag man.
Yeah, it doesn't work, does it? You can't really do it with two.
Like, imagine if you were listening to the podcast without you on it, just Jonesy and I was just making really crude jokes that Jonesy didn't exactly know what to do with, like every 30 seconds. Just
I find that entertaining. To
That's
be
maybe-
fair,
yeah,
fellas,
no,
I do
no.
want to say I'm just, big fan. Big fan of the pod.
Do you know what? We're
Big
fans
fan
of
of
your
the pod.
work.
Thank
So-
you, mate.
Really?
Yeah, do you know what? Because the other thing is, you weren't just a member of this podcast for over 100 episodes.
Yeah.
You were the host of this podcast for a gosh darn long time. Do you remember that?
A dear chunk of it.
Yeah.
You know what? Looking back, I thought I was, but then looking back, I don't think I actually was. In my mind, like the first third of my time on Super Show, I was the host, but
We started to split it out a little bit toward the mid.
no, much
the
earlier
end
than you
towards
think.
time.
Much
Really?
earlier than you think. Anyway, that's boring.
But there's a lot of people out there who are going to be really excited, really happy because you've been asking for Chris to be back for a long time. So it's amazing that we've finally got him back. And we had to do something special for 200, which is why we're here.
Hell yeah.
This is going to be a little bit of a different podcast because I think rather than talk about current news, because this is 200, we're not just going to talk about stuff that's happened, stuff that hasn't happened in the past week. We're going to do a little bit of a look back over the last year. So not since 100, but in the last year or so. So we're talking 2023, beginning of 2024. Because one thing we do want to do that people won't know, actually we do reference sometimes, is you often WhatsApp us after you've watched the podcast and you go, what the hell were you guys talking about? And
Yeah.
you want to weigh in and you want to get involved. So we thought we'd pull up some of those.
Yeah, by all
News
means.
points.
Like before we do that, I just do want to say, like, listening to you guys, there are moments where I just want to chime in because you've been so incredibly wrong. It's actually been disturbing.
Oh, God.
But at other times, it's just been actually just really pleasant having you guys there week in, week out. And fair play to you guys for kind of sticking to it. It's so clear to me now that I was the one who was clogging up the whole system of doing a weekly
How dare you?
on time kind of pod.
Well, no, because you talk about weekly on time pods. We are literally in the midst of shifting it from Monday to Tuesday because of how infrequently we actually managed to get our shit together in time for Monday.
Mondays are hard.
Yeah.
You'd think getting a couple of people together to chat about video games once a week would be easy, but as we all know in different ways, it's absolutely not.
I
Yeah,
think it's just us cursed.
maybe. Do you know what, though? We've put in a long... If you go all the way back to old school ATG, like ATG, the channel that we used to be a part of before this, for anyone... I mean, I assume everyone listening to this knows that.
Probably.
But there might be a few weirdos who are kind of like Super Show fans exclusively, in which case...
Oh, I love that.
Oh, say hi in the.
But
Yeah.
that goes back
comments.
to, like, not to freak you guys out, but we'll be celebrating 10 years of ATG next year. Like, we've been talking about video games for a long time,
That is a long time.
on the internet.
We have. That is ridiculous. 10 years is absolutely insane. I'm going to give a little shout out to something you mentioned before the pod, which is someone before asked us if there's anywhere that they can watch old school ATG videos. And there are a select few that you can currently check out on YouTube. If you go to ATG Archive, if you search for that, there is a select few number of 6 lists. If you wanted to get a little bit of a nostalgia kick, you could check out
Yeah.
some of those videos there that Chris has very kindly put up.
Yeah.
So
We'll see. Maybe more coming. Maybe not. I don't know. it's on a whim.
There's a few there that if people were like, oh, I really want to see the intro, like, you can click on
You know
that and
what the
watch.
problem is? With ATG, we had, I believe at the end of it, including level ups, live streams, etc., we had 901 pieces of content. I remember this
Christ.
specifically. And how do you pass all of that? Where do you go and say, I want to pick this, I want to pick that?
No,
So
that's very
what
true.
would be helpful, I guess, is people letting us know what kind of episodes they want us to revisit.
There aren't enough people out there watching now who can tell you that.
Yeah, true.
Who remember that.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Maybe there is. Let us know if there's any specific one that you want us to upload.
Do you know what? There might be.
Yeah, maybe it'll be a good idea to just fucking dump all the live stuff.
We missed a trick really with this. We should have started this podcast by doing the I'm Chris.
Oh shit, we should have done
fucking, that. This is what happens when Alex Jones is the fucking host.
I should have said it, shouldn't I? I don't remember how. Well, no, you would have to start.
You have to start.
Okay, we'll do it for old time's sake. The
Right,
ATG style. Are you going? You're going to go second, right?
He's always second.
Yeah, I'm always second.
Okay, all right. Okay.
But then
and then I do the blur.
And that means you get to say the and.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. But peek behind the curtain. The reason that it was this way is because you never wanted to fucking say anything in the intros.
Yeah, because
you're just like, I just was, oh, Jeremy.
It's because it's scary. Plus, it's not where my best material comes from.
I thought we used to mix. I thought we used to mix it up. Like you would do one and then I would do. Did we not? Was it usually me doing the
I think that was maybe the plan in like the first week.
Oh, okay.
And then Jamie very quickly was like, oh, Jamie.
Look, my comedy is all based on reaction. It's all about my environment.
Wow.
And when we're just saying our names, I haven't been given anything to bounce off yet.
Okay.
I need Jonesy to say something stupid or like put the emphasis on the wrong word when he's saying Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates
so that I can
of the Caribbean.
Although you did that in like one of the podcasts recently.
Oh, I think I did actually.
Yeah.
I can't remember what word it was.
You scumbag.
The Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad. I don't know.
All right, so we're going to do this.
Like
yeah.
We're going to do, whenever Super Show, we're going to do all-time gaming.
Do all-time gaming.
Yeah,
for
do
old school,
all-time
old
gaming.
sake.
What do you say? Okay, all right. Hey guys, welcome to All-Time Gaming. I'm Chris.
I'm Jamie.
And I'm Alex. And today we're going there you go.
Do you know what that
That
felt
just feels so fucking comfortable, doesn't it?
I was going to say uncomfortable. I had one thing that came into my mind as we were doing it that didn't come into my mind the years we did it for real. The Wiggles. For some reason. Because the Wiggles always used to do that as well. They would say, I'm Murray, I'm Anthony, and I'm Jeff.
Who are the Wiggles?
You don't know who the fucking Wiggles are?
No.
Some fucking
Oh my God. I
British
thought
thing.
you were supposed to be a father.
I haven't seen the Wiggles. But you mentioned the other day that you did some voiceover for somebody. I'm not going to say who or for what.
Yes.
And someone actually said, is that Jamie from All Time Gaming?
They did. And it was a really innocuous piece of voiceover where it's like a 23-minute long video and I speak for 2 seconds at a time on
That's
5
mad.
occasions. And there was a comment on the day the video got uploaded saying, is that Jamie from All Time Gaming? And to know that, again, you would have to remember my name, which is 1/3 of a channel that hasn't uploaded for 5 years. That
Yeah.
like to the hoops you have to jump through. It's kind of cool.
That is kind of mad.
Yeah.
Big respect.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. I don't know. It's cool. It could be depressing if we let it be depressing, but we're not going to let it be depressing.
I'm gonna do a bit of housekeeping right now so we can because we need to do it, and otherwise I will forget. So I just want to say, obviously, we're going to be reminiscing today. We're going to be talking about some new stuff. We're going to be looking to the future a little bit. We're going to be enjoying the fact that Chris is here. But one thing we have to say at the very beginning is we would not be here doing episode 200 if it was not for everyone who's watching, people who watch live, people who listen to the podcast, people on YouTube, everyone who interacts with our content. So comments, like just watching, but 100% as well, our patrons who support us week in, week out. Shout out to everybody who has gone the extra mile, and a lot of people that have been with us for 200 and back into the last 10 years as well, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, thank you so much.
Nice,
to
big
everybody.
up.
Absolutely. I was in the comment section of the Super Show episode 100 earlier today and reading some of the comments. And aside from the fact that porn star Asa Akira was brought up multiple times, which I can only attribute to you, Chris, there were a number of people who were saying, bring on the next 100 or see you at 200. And to see that some of those names were still people that either pop up in the comment section now, pop up in the live stream, pop up in the Discord, that's endearing as well. So yeah, huge shout out to everyone that's still coming along for the ride in some way, shape or form, including you, Chris, coming back on the rodeo for this special episode.
Nice, yeah.
I reckon then, so before we get on to some new stuff that's happened, it would be, maybe we were sort of saying before we got this started, and this might be a tricky one because it wasn't like the most amazing year necessary, or since 100. It's not been the most amazing time for gaming in general, but it's been a fantastic period for games in general. So is there any games that we want to flag up? So I suppose in 2023, since episode 100, that either of you want to mention that just jump to your minds when I say that?
Are we talking about games we've played or games that we should have played and we haven't?
I think we can say either. Like, so for example, like we were saying before the pod, like 2023 was a weird year for me because whilst it was a great year for gaming, like Spider-Man 2, fantastic. Hogwarts Legacy, I played a lot of that game. In any other year, they wouldn't be my number one, but I would give a shout out to both of those games. But yeah, not that I would want to sit and chat about for the next 25 minutes.
Yeah, we were kind of mentioning it before we hit record, didn't we? Like, last year being touted as the best year in gaming for a very long time. We could kind of agree on it, but maybe in a bit of a strange way. I think you had said it's like best game year by committee.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel that way.
Well, there's so much for so many people, but then if you try and boil it, if every individual group of people probably won't say it was their best year, but when you get everyone together, they may agree on it being best year.
I think there are also like other factors at play, and like one thing that isn't helpful on accounts like this is that you're looking at three people who either didn't play or didn't vibe with Baldur's Gate 3 and Tears of the Kingdom, two of the most critically acclaimed games of all time.
Hey, not for lack of wanting, but
Tears of the Kingdom was an interesting one for me. Can I bring that? Because
did you play
about that? I did play Tears of the Kingdom, but I fell off it probably about.
So before this is how I know we're living in a simulation.
Yeah,
where Alex Jones plays the Tears of the Kingdom, and I don't fucking play.
Did you know? Did you not?
Do you have Tears of the Kingdom?
No, I don't.
Do you want it?
I mean, yeah, sure.
You can genuinely, you can take my copy home with you today if you want to, because I got it for Christmas. I played it for an hour and I went, oh, you can fly, and I stopped playing it. Sorry, go on, Jonesy.
So Tears of the Kingdom for me was a weird highlight to something that the problem I had with Breath of the Wild, which was it was for all the fantastic stuff it did, for how good it looked, etc., etc. I just kind of fell off of it. And then when Tears of the Kingdom came out, I was like, right, let me give this another run. I didn't finish Breath of the Wild. And everyone was talking about it, and there was loads of like meme stuff, and there were loads of tweets about all the crazy stuff that you can do with it. And I still see them to this day, right? I still see people on Reddit sharing things about what they've made. Sometimes I do, yeah. Which is what they still bubbles up.
I think you got to search for that shit.
There was a hot and heavy 2 weeks where people were making like walking statues with flaming dicks.
Yeah, exactly.
The one I'm thinking specifically about was someone referencing someone not understanding how Tears of the Kingdom was supposed to be played and not doing the construction very well, and they juxtaposed someone who did it really well and knew what they were doing with the building, and someone who just didn't get it. And they were saying like how you're supposed to enjoy Tears of the Kingdom, how you didn't enjoy Tears of the Kingdom.
But I think this boils down to why I haven't played this game.
Okay.
Because yes, it's on a technical level, it's all amazing, like what you can do and etc. But it's almost like the reason I don't play Minecraft. I'm never going to be the person who builds a fucking diamond palace. What I'm going to be is I'm going to be that person who digs a hole in a wall. Someone else puts a torch. Someone else builds a bed for me because I don't know how to fucking do it, and then just like do it.
Yeah,
and with
that's hilarious. That's such a good analogy.
With Tears of the Kingdom, it's the same thing. It's like I'm going to do those things, and inevitably there's going to be this tutorial where it's going to be like, oh, this is how you build things. I'm like, cool, and I'll do the tutorial how they want it to do, and I'll make like a flying ship in the way it's meant to be. And the moment after that, my like mentally stunted growth of a little walnut brain is going to be like, see, and I'm not going to be able to build anything.
I think there must be more of us than meets the eye there, because I feel the exact, like, growing up, there are two types of kids. There are the types of kids that want a giant bucket of assorted, completely unassembled, random Lego pieces, so they can build some fucking monstrosity that looks like shit, but because they're 4, you have to smile and go, so, that's great. What is it? It's a spaceship. Oh, it's a cow. And you know, the first, because they're young and you get it. And then there's us that would rather have explicit and detailed instructions of how to build one specific thing and be proud of what we've built, even though we were told what to do at every step of the way.
Pop it on the shelf and be
happy.
happy.
I'm kind of like that with video games. Like if video games were the equivalent of like being spoon fed, I need them to wave the spoon around and go and make aeroplane noises before it gets put in my mouth. Otherwise, I'm slightly just because. I had the exact same thing with Tears of the Kingdom, which is like I can see the objects you're placing in front of me. I can see how these machines work. I can begin to connect the dots and see if I put a fan here and this there and attach this to that and glue that to that, then I'll have a UFO. But I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So I had the realization, which was when I'd seen some of the cool stuff people were building, and admittedly, I was quite early on in the game. But there was like a high piece of land that you couldn't get to, and so you obviously had to build something to get up high to it. And I ended up just chopping down like 15 trees and just sticking them together and stacking them really badly. And then I had to jump and climb. There was no cool like whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the reality of it. It's almost like you see those videos on TikTok and Instagram. It's like, TikTok version and reality version. And it's like, here's this woman in like the fucking hotels of Santorini and there's no one around and beautiful sunset. And it's like the reality is like you just
it's grim, it's
shoulder
dirty,
to shoulder.
it's raining.
It's still beautiful, but it's you're shoulder to shoulder with like
with no filter, is it?
Well, there we go. Okay. No, but you get what I mean. Like,
yeah, no,
I do.
When you play that game, it's not that shiny, cool thing where you see like a fucking a mech with a flaming dick kind of running around and destroying goblins.
Especially when it comes to like what you need to complete your objective versus like what some people like you go back to your Minecraft example. There are some people you go into their world, you know, in Minecraft, and you show them like where you've been living, for want of a better way of putting it, and it's like a mud hut with a bed in it and a chest in it. You go, I'm like, oh my god, this is a bit grim. And then you go, yeah, but what are the two things I do in here? I sleep and I put my shit in the box. Everything else, he's like, and so Jonesy's chain of logs, it might be the ugliest thing ever made in Zelda history.
I got up.
But if he got up there, then the job's a good one.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
So when it comes to like other games, then what are the things that sort of come to mind or jump out?
So I'm towards the mid to end of Alan Wake 2. So maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah,
it's
big game,
kind of fresh in my mind. Yeah, like I'm really enjoying it. And I know it's funny. I was listening at the end of the year. Obviously, a lot of people were talking about their game of the year, and the rundowns, etc. And some people were really hot on it, and other people are saying, "Oh, it started off really well, and then it just kind of never got anywhere." I'm not feeling that at all. I think it's really good, and it definitely makes me curious as to what that DLC is going to be like and how it's going to tie into, you know, Control 2 and the Control multiplayer Project Condor, whatever they're calling it. Like all of that stuff is just fascinating to me. But yeah, I just love to see Remedy go from strength to strength. It's cool, man. The jump scare stuff never bothered me all that much.
Oh, see that they fuck with. They've added an update now where you can tone it down.
To jump, I would tone it down. Yeah. I'm not a fan of the. I was talking to someone about this a couple of days ago, which was I like horror. I don't enjoy jump scares. They're a cheap trick.
It is cheap, and to be fair, I don't really get why they've added it to this game. It doesn't need it.
They're effective, and there's a sequence. You experience them very, very early on,
right?
Like essentially in the prologue to the entire game. And you're like, oh my god, that was startling and effective. But they keep going, and in some places, in some environments, they feel justified. And they, without getting into spoilers, they change. Because they are literally the boilerplate definitions of jump scares, where gameplay cuts to like a live action shot of someone full screen screaming in your face.
Oh, okay.
Like it is a jump scare. It's not just like a door opens or
it's the worst type of jump scare as well.
It is
it's completely shoehorned in.
Right.
Yeah.
But, cut to jump scare moments.
But like Jamie says, it does kind of like
there are
evolve into it.
And there are narrative reasons for it. And like the faces you see and like why so it's not completely unjustified. It just I'll put it like it scared me. And I play a lot of video games on my own, in my underwear, in the small hours of the morning. I have people around me, I can't wake up because I'll get in trouble.
And he's running out of underwear, so... No, but like, it never bothered me, I guess, because I could always see the signposting when that would happen. After a while, you kind of...
That's fair.
You notice it. But there were other parts where I was genuinely creeped out. And like, if anyone is from the ATG days, you probably remember that I don't really scare that easily in horror games. I don't necessarily like horror games. I'm not trying to brag like, oh yeah, I can.
When I couldn't get through the door in Resident Evil 7, I had to give you the controller in the live streams. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I don't remember. But I guess the thing is, like, there's this one section where you go to this like abandoned what's the word, like fun fair that's based around coffee, called like Coffee World or something. And there were certain moments in that, and it's funny, it's not even the moments of, you know, a jump scare is coming, or you know there's going to be an action sequence because all of a sudden you opened up a box and there's all this health and ammo, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I know what's coming. It's more just like just the tone and the atmosphere of it just really fucking got under my skin. I don't know how else to explain it. And for that reason, I hated that section.
Right.
But at the same time, you got to respect it for giving you that ick.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like it's a superbly crafted game. It looks phenomenal. That fucking what's it, Northlight engine?
Yeah.
It's something else, honestly. And yeah, man. Like so you haven't played it.
I've not played any
Is
of
there
it.
a reason?
He's a pussy.
Besides that, yeah.
It was purely because it was not one that I felt I needed to play as soon as it came out, and the other reason was I hadn't finished Alan Wake, and so I was kind of like. But then, to be fair, I think Jamie, we spoke about it, and Jamie was like, "You don't need to finish Alan Wake.
Yeah.
You could just crack on and play it."
Like, I don't know if you agree so far, but I think some elements of Control are more important feed-ins
100%.
to Alan Wake 2.
100%.
And I've finished
is.
Control, so
Yeah.
And in fact, I believe, like, is it in the mid of Alan Wake 2, you kind of get a rundown of what happened in Alan Wake 1?
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, in its own unique way, there are lots of things that, if you listen to actually what you're being told, it is describing the story of
Right.
Alan Wake, the writer.
Yeah.
I think Alan Wake is quite a. It's not tough to play, but it does feel dated now. So I do. When I was trying to play that, I was trying to play remaster. It was like, it did. I found myself like not.
Well,
sometimes you really want to go back and carry on playing a game, and sometimes you're like, can I be bothered? Or do I want to put on Netflix and watch something I've not seen?
Yeah.
I was more, let's watch Netflix rather than play some more Alan Wake.
I can respect that for a number of games, but I think it's strange. Like thinking back on Alan Wake, like it's got the narrative chops, and I think that's really what kind of like keeps it all together. The gunplay and the action, it's fine, it's serviceable, but it's nowhere near the focus of it. It's one of those games where it's like, if I had to explain to someone what this game was, they wouldn't get it. They wouldn't get why it's so special.
Yes, and obviously the narratives are the reason that it stuck around. But no, it's one that I really want to play, and kind of a bit of a sleeper hit as well. Last year was not sleeper in that sense, but I think it came out and no one thought it was going to be quite as good as it really was. We thought it was going to be decent because of what we'd seen of it.
Jonesy, I mean, like Alan Wake 1, for as many, I mean, you guys mentioned this on the podcast a few weeks ago. A lot of times people are like, Jamie, you were saying about like Silent Hill 2, like how many people actually fucking played Silent Hill 2 to be this rabid about it? And I kind of feel like it's the same thing with Alan Wake 1. Like,
but then I played Alan Wake.
Yeah,
no, but what I'm saying is like,
it's grown exponentially.
It was a
since
fine.
it
was on Xbox, right? Like Xbox 360. It was a fine Xbox 360 game. Like
and at least with Alan Wake, you could make the argument, as many would, about Remedy and the success of Control and the shared universe. You go back to Silent Hill, it's like, well, some people like Silent Hill 3, sure. It's like there are even some very adamant and staunch Silent Hill 4 defenders out there. But broadly speaking, Silent Hill peaked at 2. And Konami is more interested, or for a good while there, was more interested in like leisure centers and pachinko machines than video games. So there's no argument there on that. So I don't know.
I was because I never played Alan Wake originally, obviously, and it was only after I played Control and I really liked it, and like Remedy is such a great company. I was like, do you know what? Let me go back and try this. It was a little bit similar to my BioShock.
Do you know what would surprise me, for example, is if there was a really good Quantum Break 2 that came out in a few years, and people started really liking Quantum Break. It came hot to like Quantum Break 1
I
again.
love the idea of Quantum Break. I wouldn't mind a Quantum Break 2 that I could actually get
the reason you like the idea of Quantum Break is because you just said that sometimes you'd rather watch Netflix than play a game. So you Quantum Break
watch the show.
So
the thing that really gets me excited though are the Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes.
Yeah, they specifically fucking rad.
Specifically said as remakes rather than remasters. And I hope it's like an actual remake as we understand it, not
ground
like,
up remake.
Yeah, not like it's a remake, but it's the same fucking thing with just some 4K textures. But because if they do remake it, there's a chance to integrate this Remedy verse in throughout that narrative, which would be sick. Because actually in Alan Wake 2, there is a shout out to the Max Payne universe. Did you pick it up?
Well,
about the drug.
Oh, see, I didn't pick up on that. I mean, large parts of Alan Wake 2 though also revolve around a kind of a copyright friendly indirect reference to to Max Payne, in so much as that there's a fictional detective from a hard boiled series that is voiced by James McCaffrey, but has the face of Sam Like, okay,
Oh,
that's it.
Jonesy, you got to play it, man.
It's fascinating.
I do want
and
to.
to everyone watching, if you haven't played it, like you got to play it. Just to experience some of the crazy narrative chops that are going on there.
Even if you have to buy grown-up nappies or diapers, whatever people
Oh.
Depends.
so you can sit there in your own filth.
It's not that
no
scary,
games
but it's not
worth
scary. It's just great. It's just great.
It's Jonesy.
It's just great.
It's scary. It's Jonesy. It's scary.
That's not.
It's scary.
You won't be tasting copper.
Oh, wow. Actually, do you know what, Chris? You're right. I didn't taste any copper.
There
I
we are.
reserved the copper tasting experience exclusively for the Baker family.
Nice. But yeah, like other games, a big one from last year was Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes.
But
I played so much Baldur's Gate 3. It was absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure-
played-
I'm
I played
sure
it.
you
me
did,
too.
mate. Yeah,
I
totally.
hate it. Hit it so hard. Actually, can I make my Baldur's Gate 3 confession now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
do
In
it.
honor of episode 200.
Do it.
Ooh.
Get ready, folks, for a revelation. I bought, played, and refunded Baldur's Gate 3.
That doesn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah, and it wasn't because it did anything wrong.
Yeah.
It was because I had this weird moment where I played it for 2 or 3 hours first night I bought it. The next day I was like, I feel zero draw to play any more Baldur's Gate 3. I could very easily get my money back. So that money eventually got spent on democracy, courtesy of Eldivers 2. So nothing went to waste.
Fair. But yeah, like it's
So you didn't play it. Or you
no,
did
and I'm dying to play it, but here's my dilemma, fellas. I'm gonna finish Alan Wake 2. By the time I finish Alan Wake 2, it's gonna be time for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, see, it's not that far out the podcasting game.
There we go. And then that's being reported to be like 100-hour game, which is fucking. I mean, it won't be 100 hours, but knowing me,
72 hours of chocobo racing.
Yeah, exactly.
28 hours.
There's
of game.
something filth about a remake which is that long. I don't know what it is.
Oh, I'm
like
here
it's
for it,
just
man.
too much.
I'm here for it.
It's because of people like him. It's because of these sickos.
No, but hold
Yeah.
on. When you talk about remakes, like this is the gold standard of what you should do, like structurally with a remake, I would say. Because
Yeah, that's
you're
I can
taking
see
everything,
fair.
you're expanding it. It's not the same. You're kind of altering stuff. But regardless, what I'm saying is that's another fucking X amount of hours game. I still have to finish Elden Ring, which I think my current check when I've been dipping in and out is like 99 hours.
I need to ask though, because did you ever finish Sekiro?
No, I didn't.
It's like he never left, folks.
Hell
He
yeah.
didn't. You know what? He just didn't want to do it without you. That was the
Exactly.
problem.
Exactly. That's going to be episode 300. Got to
Okay,
save something for
episode
that.
3. 2 more years. I've finished Sekiro. I've
Yeah.
finished Elden Ring.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I'm
then,
halfway through.
but then you're telling me I'm going
Rebirth.
to get like sucked off into a Baldur's Gate 3 game that's going to be like 60 plus hours. Like, I just don't have the time, man.
I almost
Yeah.
wish I liked you. So you make the interesting point with Baldur's Gate 3. We know that's a fantastic game. We know loads of people have loved it,
Yes.
but you can play it, refund it within the 2 hours, knowing it's not for you, without being like, "What a pile of crap." Like you can know that it's just
Oh,
not.
yeah,
it's just not for
absolutely.
you. It's
Yeah.
a great game. It's
Yeah.
a great game. You know why people love it, but it's not. It's not really my thing. So then I'm not. Which I think I'd be the same as you.
I had
There's
to
no
operate
point.
on instincts. Like, I'm one of those people where one of the most dangerous things I can do with food is surround myself with a large volume of it.
Right.
Because if I like it, I will just keep going back and back and back. It's
Yeah.
like crisps, for example. They're a giant family size. I don't know why they call them family size bags, unless that family is 2 midgets. No, it's not a family bag. Those bags for one person who's hungry. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna have to be cautious with those because it's like I'm just not going to stop eating it till it's gone.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate was one of those things where it's like I was satisfied before I was full.
Okay.
Or I was full without getting satisfied. So there's something in there.
Yeah.
There's a metaphor
But
in there that told me a lot of what I needed to know about how likely it was that I was going to get
Yeah.
and when you spend £45 on a whim and you know you can get that money back, it's like,
Yeah,
well,
why not? So
yeah.
did you do it through Steam?
Yeah, it was all through Steam.
Yeah, I mean, at least you had that opportunity.
Yeah,
Um,
zero friction.
You want to know a game that had I bought it, I would have refunded in the 2 hours?
Yes, please.
Starfield.
Would you
What?
have actually have refunded it?
No,
proper.
that's-
Yeah.
Wow.
In
I-
fact,
that's-
in fact,
I mean,
I did.
that is
I
too
kind
bold.
of did that because that was the last game I played before I cancelled my Game Pass.
Oh shit! I mean that is actually pretty damning.
I feel like that's too harsh. That Starfield was not everything that we hoped it would be, but I think it's too much to say that it's a game that you would
It's
want to refund and cancel your Game Pass over.
that they're not connected. It just so happened to work out that way.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is this: it's not a good game. It's not a good game. It's not a good game, and I can argue this. I'm ready.
Can I do a cop out and say I don't think it's not a good game. I just don't think it's a Bethesda RPG.
It's not a good game.
Okay.
It's not a good.
We're in trouble.
So tell me. Okay, I can understand when people say, "Oh yeah, but it's it might be a good game, but it's not a good Bethesda game." But really, Bethesda games aren't necessarily good games away from the Bethesda framing.
Right.
So as soon as you take the Bethesda framing away from the game, that makes it worse. Like we've always said it. There's almost a Bethesda tax that you pay.
Yeah.
With like the jank and everything that you say, oh well, that's just a Bethesda game.
Agreed.
All right, fine. And to be fair, this was I didn't have any technical issues with this game whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So-
it was solid.
Fair play. But as a game and its foundations and things that you guys have kind of touched on in previous podcasts, and to a degree, some of the stuff that we spoke about to the initial release of Cyberpunk 2077, where fundamentally that shit is broken. It's not a good game. Tell me how it's not a good game.
I'll start.
Always a good sign.
Well, no, 'cause I would.
I like how that implies I might back him up as well. And it's like, Jonesy, I just need to warn you, I am not following you into that battlefield. I'm staying in the trenches, buddy.
So
I'm staying down here and getting swamp foot or whatever it's called.
I feel like saying it's not a good game suggests that if you are someone who enjoys that type of game, you sat down with it, you wouldn't enjoy it. I would disagree with that. I played and finished the whole thing. I played a little bit of the post game stuff, but I've not got into it like as much as I could have done. I had enjoyed what they were putting down. Like I think I did have some jank. I had some hard crashes. Did have some almost game breaking bugs, which I was lucky that I could manage to load a previous save. And I had some weird ass Bethesda jank. Like I definitely did. For me, the bit that grated on me most was like, I suppose you'd call it like the way that they tried to sort of smooth the game and make it so that you could do things more easily. So the way you could fast travel, the way you could get around, I actually found that detracted from it a lot because I wanted some more of the RPG-ness to it. I wanted to feel a bit of grating, a little bit of a grind to have to try and do stuff. And they took a lot of that out. I think they did to smooth the experience for a lot of maybe more casual players, which I wish they hadn't done.
But you're still not telling me why it's a good game.
Because I will say that the core, when you come break it down to the core stuff, like the core story, the gameplay mechanics, the places that you go to, all of that for me was fine. I enjoyed all of those elements.
B tier. B tier.
But then I would say I would put that back and say that a lot of Bethesda stuff is B tier, and that when you look at it like that.
True,
everything together in a Bethesda game is what elevates it to make it really good. I think the problem this game had is a lot of it is very Bethesda, but because some of the other stuff wasn't as good as past Bethesda games, you were saying it's not a good game, but actually, I would say it's not that much further below some other Bethesda games.
See, this is where I completely diverge from you because I think that this is the least Bethesda game Bethesda has released, and that is why it is bad because all of a sudden that Bethesda tax doesn't factor into it.
I know in a weird way, like I know what you're saying because some of the best elements of Bethesda games are the between. Is when you go from point to point, and they took out all the betweens in this. It was fast travel from place to place to place, which definitely detracted from the enjoyment
fast travel
of the world.
From place to place to place where you don't even know where you're fucking going. The mission structure is absolutely insane.
I didn't have a problem with it.
It's insane. Go to this moon to go speak to this person in
this
bar.
I see, right.
On this moon, and you go and do that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's on another fucking solar system."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool.
Fast travel.
Let me fast track to go there, to there, and it's like the world's most boring fucking crumb trail that you got to follow.
I'm not saying
very little payoff, and in between the interstitial thing. Okay, the gameplay, the gunplay felt fairly good to me, but also not great. Right?
Okay.
The writing was pants, and there was too much of a. I kind of get what they were going for, but there was maybe too much of a sense of optimism. You didn't really have these kind of like, I don't know, like
it was a very dumb story.
Tell me a properly memorable character from that game.
And their
cowboy
name.
And their name.
No, okay, fair enough. You might not need to know their name.
I don't know.
I'd like to know their name.
Oh, okay.
Is it? I want to say Ethan, but I don't think it is. Cowboy hat guy with the kid.
Ethan Cowboy Hat
Is
guy
it
with it. I
Ethan?
think that pretty much
I don't
sums
think
it up,
it's
doesn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Ethan
It's
Coe.
Sam Coe or something?
Something Coe.
Or was that the voice actor? I don't know. But yeah, okay, him. But what was so great about him?
His cowboy hat, his son.
Yes, cowboy hat and
No, it wasn't.
and
It wasn't anything. It wasn't necessarily great about him. But the I don't want to. Is it? Is it spoilers? Is it probably
Oh.
far enough down the line if I say something that happens about him? Mate, I don't know. Like,
So just pretend it's a choice, and then
I suppose it is a choice. But when I played it, so I actually quite like the way that because certain characters can die. And certain choices you make obviously lead to characters dying. And there's a thing where he travels with his daughter, and you get a little bit of a relationship built up between you and the daughter and him. And it's like, and she travels all around with him. And then you make a decision not to go to the space station to fight off the I can't remember what they bloody call them.
this is not looking good.
The star kids, star children, whatever they're called.
Oh, the Star Children, yeah.
What are they
the
called?
Star Kids. Yeah, so the Star Kids.
Ethan and the Star Kids.
sounds
My
like
favourite
a
80s
hair
band.
band. But yeah, you can make the
You know,
choice
he's
of
he wears the cowboy hat.
He wears the cowboy hat.
you make the choice whether to repel them on Earth or whether you're going to go to the space station to try and repel them. And I didn't.
Sure.
And when you get there, he's dead, and they make a big thing of it. And then the girl's like, "Oh,
What?
my dad's dead."
mate,
And, yeah, that's
I
all.
might have jumped back into
That's a
Starfield. Now
massive spoiler, Jamie.
you just
That's
ruined
really
it for me.
conservative.
You,
Nah, man,
Key
you're fine.
question:
you bumhole.
as a dying act, does he give the kid the cowboy hat?
No, he's just
He goes,
dead.
he goes, this one's for you, partner.
So one thing about
You're
Starfield.
the new leader of the Star Children, baby.
I know that people love it when I talk about game development and how easy it is. But one of the things that struck me about Starfield was when you play it, it feels like you can feel the changes they made post testing. Because there's some things that in the game where you're like, I'm pretty sure this wasn't supposed to happen like this, but obviously there's a specific bit where you've got to get on board the collector's ship.
Yeah.
And you've got to get your way through, and you can fight your way through, or you can convince your way into a certain room, and then you get a piece of the armory, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And there's all these parts of the ship where you can like make holes and blow your way through walls and climb up little bits and be sneaky. But it becomes abundantly clear that you cannot actually do any of that stuff on your way back. You just have to grab it and then fight everyone and try and escape. But that was pretty obvious to me that wasn't how that was supposed to go down. And that maybe they got to a point where they said, do you know what? We don't have time to finish this mission. Because I kept reading Reddit forums about people trying to do it in a way that didn't get them aggroed, and they couldn't.
It's the same thing of saying like, oh, somehow people managed to board a pirate ship as it was flying out, and then it just kind of kicks you out. This is what I'm saying about it's the least Bethesda game that Bethesda's released, because with Bethesda games, to me, it was always like a case of, I mean, fucking hell, to be as lame as like, see that mountain there, you can go climb it.
Right.
It was very much a case of like, hey, do what you fucking want in our games and we'll kind of like circumnavigate it. Whereas with Starfield, it's like, no, you can't do that, you can't do that, and you can't do that, and you can't do that. And if you can try and do that, but nothing's going to happen.
And there's not really much to do.
There's no reason for you to do this, and don't do that.
Well, Jamie's going to back me up now.
Yeah, let's
No.
hear it from you, mate.
See, you guys have forgotten what it's like to have three people on the podcast. This is the
Nah,
bit where I get to sit on the fence.
The fence sitting,
I was
yeah.
literally thinking while you two were doing that, like, I didn't foresee us getting Chris back on the podcast to argue about Starfield. But at the same time, like, it's not that Jonesy and I can't argue with one another when it's just the two of us, but it is a little bit difficult. Like, if one person really puts their foot down and you don't have a mediator, then for the podcast to just be two people getting at each other, like, it can be a bit awkward.
It would
Like,
be.
You need someone who knows that everything's okay. And that's what that
Well, you
made
could
that
just flash
exchange
up.
slightly
You could just flash up a
refreshing.
graphic or something.
We
It's
also
like you two sitting on a fence or something.
We
holding
like
hands.
Yeah.
Like,
But we
exactly.
exchange hosting duties as well. And when you're hosting, if someone tells you something, it feels really bad to tell them they're wrong.
You should tell
Right.
them. You should because you guys have been wrong on multiple fucking
Oh,
occasions.
yeah. Well, we're always wrong. Like,
We're actually, do you know what though? We are in a really nice place now because we have already moved on to the bit I wanted to do, which was to talk about events that have happened in the past sort of like year since 100. And Starfield was, of course, one of the major things that happened because it was supposed to be big game. It was post, obviously Bethesda and Xbox getting together. So I've got a couple more things that have happened that I'd like to get you guys' opinions on.
Yeah, shoot.
It's keeping it with Xbox then at the moment. So Phil Spencer admitting, I guess this is last year, that the Xbox had effectively lost out to PlayStation.
Yeah.
And they know they'd lost the console war. Do I have to do quotes?
Yeah.
They've lost the console war. There was a bit of backlash to that. A lot of Xbox people were really not happy. A lot of PlayStation fanboys were very, very happy.
This was sure. I think I remember this specifically because again, this I don't know if you feel the same way, but this is the kind of thing that I've been watching and gagging to have a podcast to go on just to be able to speak my mind.
Yeah.
But when Redfall was coming out and was absolutely getting slaughtered, and Phil Spencer went on. Was it one of the Kind of Funny podcasts?
Yeah.
And did this really candid interview where he gave a lot of the information that Jonesy just discussed. It's I will say as well as a little precursor to this discussion, it's very interesting to see the moves that Xbox have continued to make in the aftermath of that admission.
Yes.
Some of which is backed up by Phil's sort of admission that the console wars are ostensibly over if they even ever existed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird minefield out there.
It's interesting, man. So, what did you guys think about the news about some Xbox games coming multi-platform, like first-party Xbox?
I see. Jamie nailed it there. Like this is so since Phil Spencer saying Xbox have actually got into a position whereby they've lost the console war. If you take that as like where they're at, and then you then say okay they're going multi-platform, I think it totally makes sense. The backlash that they've then had to that to people saying that that's it, they're going to like throw their Xbox out the window or whatever. I think is
like, did you see the influencers claiming they were retiring and things like that?
Mate, listen, they can all go jump. These are the same fucking influencers that set up a camera, do the lighting, and then hit record while they're off camera, and then come into camera, sit down, and go.
Oh,
I love it when there's things you don't notice, and then someone points it out, and it's like
It's
exactly that sort of thing.
It's just bullshit. I've tried to make this video 5 times already. All right, mate. So then so this is your first fucking take. Who gives a shit? Just get on with it. Like you're apologizing or you're breaking news.
That makes me hope that we get to do a Super Show apology one day, so you can do that.
I'd love to do it.
I've deleted and re-recorded this video so many times.
I've tried so hard, and then you bring puppies on to kind of distract people.
Absolutely,
from
the dog
But
trick.
yeah, I think maybe you can look at it at a different way, right? There's losing the console wars, but maybe it's losing the console battle, but not the war.
We've often talked about that as how Xbox may be losing battles, but actually they seem to have more of a long-term goal to win the war than PlayStation.
And I think like listening to your podcast a couple of weeks back where you were talking about this stuff, I very much align with it. I think Xbox is playing 4D chess with this.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that you guys got to remember though is like when looking at why they're doing this, what are they going to start playing PlayStation's game? Are they going to try and catch up to PlayStation, or are they just going to forge their own path, which is what Nintendo's done and have been very successful at it?
See,
Nintendo. We always talk about Nintendo, blue sky thinking, blue ocean thinking, whatever it is, and they're not in the console war because they've taken themselves out of it because they've understood that you can't. Let's put it this way: if you are always following the pace being set by your competitor, you will never win.
Right? Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I can see that.
Right?
Unless, like in the Beijing 2008 game, you stay in their slipstream long enough that you actually are going faster than them, even though you're still behind them.
And then you can slingshot it. Yeah.
And then
That's true.
So
I never thought of that.
But then I don't think Xbox is slingshotting. I don't think there's any NASCAR going on here.
No, but you know what is happening is I truly believe this. PlayStation this generation have set themselves up amazingly, and they've completely dropped the ball.
You set themselves up amazingly this generation.
Yeah, so in other words, the PlayStation 5 and how fucking successful it's been.
Yes.
And the opportunities that come with being such a successful console.
Yep.
Yeah.
And seeing what they've done
with
all of that positioning.
It is surprising.
They've completely dropped the ball. And thank fuck Jim Ryan has gone.
That's almost like the PlayStation parable to a certain extent, is that become, like the Beatles and bigger than Jesus or whatever, rest on your laurels, say, oh shit, everyone caught up, and then have to...
Yeah, so look at it this way, right? You got someone like Phil Spencer, and he very openly says, we cannot compete with them.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need to be Phil Spencer to see that. Like, you just look at the raw numbers. It's quite fucking obvious.
Yeah.
When we think about the console generation where it was 360 and PlayStation 3, and, arguably PlayStation 3 was the worst of all the PlayStations in kind of perception.
Yeah.
When you look at sales, it's still madly outsold the Xbox 360, which was the strongest Xbox has ever been.
There is something weird about how PlayStation managed it. Every generation, they seem to pull something like this. Like I remember at the time when the PlayStation 5 came out, and it was like everyone wanted one, no one could get one. You wonder how much of that is like manufactured. And when you look back, it's like they created this idea that
yeah, but it wasn't necessarily manufactured on purpose, though, right? Like COVID did have a big part
2020,
of it.
there was a lot going on.
But what I mean is, I never heard anyone saying you can't get, and it was true that the Xbox was sold out like a lot of places as well.
Yeah.
But what everyone was talking about was how you couldn't get a PlayStation 5. I didn't hear as many people talking about, I can't get an Xbox.
But this is what I mean by them completely dropping the ball. Because if you look at the launch titles, I felt that PlayStation had a good launch title and a lot of potential, because obviously you'd know that a second God of War and a second Spider-Man were coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and potentially Ghost of Tsushima.
Miles Morales.
Whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. So Miles Morales kind of like leading, like, oh yeah, fuck. It was a really strong launch. And since then, yes, we've had strong PlayStation games, but not near enough. And I can understand the reasoning for it to a degree, of it being COVID-based and it being Jim Ryan wanting to shift more towards service games, which, funny enough, the reporting was saying, they're going to start pulling back on that. But now with
and some big ass failures, when you look at something
but they've also just had a massive success in Helldivers. So
yes,
you know, it's who knows. But my point is this: they've completely fumbled it. So what? If I was Phil Spencer, which is probably what he's doing, is he's saying, okay, we're not going to beat them on the hardware front. We are definitely beating them on the services front. That's undeniable. Okay. But what if we kind of become almost hardware agnostic? If we know we're never going to win the hardware game, then yes, we can still put out hardware, but we don't need to compete with them.
Yeah.
But
makes perfect sense.
The only part that is somewhat confusing to me, though, and admittedly, this is without knowing what the bottom lines look like and how much money is being spent, how much revenue needs to be generated, and so on and so forth, is that I think that absolutely is a path that makes sense for Xbox if that leads to greater revenue generation and strengthens the business overall. And I think when you look at, Phil didn't say the name of the 4 games that are going. Everyone knows.
We can figure them out. Okay, so Hi-Fi Rush.
Yep,
guaranteed. Sea of Thieves is going to be the community-driven. He said 2 community-driven games.
That was Sea of Thieves and Grounded.
And Grounded, perfect sense, because you want those communities to be as big as possible. Especially hearing his comments last week when he said he doesn't understand who it's benefiting by Helldivers being gated to PlayStation.
Yeah.
So you look at that and you're like, well, those make sense. And then what would be the fourth one?
So it would be Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush are the 2 single-player games that he almost described as them not really being like big, high-profile exclusives to begin with, just games that almost happen to be exclusives.
Because what he's saying there,
bought Obsidian.
Yeah, what he's saying there effectively is Starfield is not going off Xbox, and Indiana Jones is going to be Xbox exclusive. Which
at first,
temporarily.
This is the right thing. It's like you have a window of exclusivity, and then you let it spread its wings. Especially because if your focus is not on hardware, your focus is on software. That's all fine. But really, when your focus is not on hardware, your focus is going to be on services.
Yeah.
And if you want to get people attached to your service, offer it at a good price, which they do. Offer a good service, which they do, and you offer the exclusives, which they have. So, like, their Game Pass thing will keep going, and that's going to be what their focus is. And then the hardware is almost peripheral to all of it. It's almost like, hey, here's another way of playing our games if you want to.
I agree. And I think the strategy that they will take, I think they'll look at how those 4 games fare, and that strategy will continue to inform which other games go multi-platform and when. And I think there are arguments to be made. Some of this we might have touched on in previous podcasts, but like, I think more and more we're going to look at community-driven games as making sense to be cross-platform in the same way that no one is scratching their heads over Minecraft being on PlayStation or Destiny 2 being on Xbox, despite the fact that they're both obviously owned by the other company. And then Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, and things like that then become unique examples or fringe cases of, for any one of those that does blow up and you get a Hi-Fi Rush 2, you've got to, we talked about this, I think, where you do a year of console exclusivity on Hi-Fi Rush 2, and you have potentially millions of Hi-Fi Rush fans stuck on PlayStation. or maybe you just do other really cheeky low blows, like the one I remember from the launch of Psychonauts 2, is that Psychonauts 2, perhaps to fulfill some kind of like crowdfunding thingy, I'm not really sure why.
It was on Fig.
But Psychonauts 2 came out on PS4, but it never got patched or re-released for the PS5.
Yeah.
It very intentionally.
Yeah.
But it did obviously get all the Xbox Series X and S. So if you have an Xbox Series X, you can play a great version of Psychonauts 2. If you have a PS5, you can play a kind of shitty version of Psychonauts 2.
Well, so this is the thing, like in the podcast I was listening from you guys a couple of weeks ago, you were talking about, would Starfield be a good proposition on PlayStation? And Jonesy, you were emphatically, yes. This is where I have a hard disagree.
Here we go.
But that's because we already know why,
up.
because you think Starfield's a terrible game.
Never mind that. Name me a Bethesda game that has ever performed well on PlayStation hardware.
In terms of like actual performance.
Actually running. Wrong. It doesn't fucking exist, okay? Because the reason why Bethesda was picked up by Microsoft is because it was such a simple thing, because Bethesda's always been Microsoft forward, you could say.
Right.
They had their big break with the 360 and Oblivion. That was their biggest break, and that's kind of like, you could say that almost defined them as a company.
Mm-hmm.
And then going forward, all the like Skyrim on when was it, PS3 was borderline unplayable.
That's bullshit.
It's not bullshit.
I played hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of Skyrim on PlayStation 3.
I've done it before. I'll do it again. I'll use the Red Dead Redemption example. How many of us truly knew we were playing Red Dead Redemption at sub 720p resolution and not hitting 30? How many of us knew that was happening?
I'm not saying that I knew that it wasn't very good. What I'm saying is, just to say it was borderline unplayable. Like, I spent hours playing. Admittedly, looking back, maybe it wasn't the best version of that game that it could have been.
I went through half
but then
of
that was
Cyberpunk
true.
2077 pre-fix patches. So I know what it's like to play a broken game and think it's okay.
You know, at the beginning of like Band of Brothers, it's just like all the old dudes talking about the tours of war they did. So, I played Cyberpunk before the first patch. Basically, what I'm saying is we should have medals.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, right. Okay, but I think that's... But then at the time, I think we knew that the Xbox was better than the PlayStation anyway, so we knew that what we were going to get on PlayStation wasn't going to be as good. So you kind of were allowing for that anyway. It doesn't mean I'm giving them a pass, but I will say that is pretty far removed from where we're at with this console generation. If they release a substandard version of Starfield on PlayStation 5, I think it would be super obvious very quickly, and no one would be happy about it. But of course they could easily make a ported version which ran absolutely fine and was perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, but it's a shit game, so it doesn't matter.
This is the thing. This is the same thing that I think we talked about Suicide Squad. If Starfield was released by someone else and wasn't a Bethesda game and didn't have the the length of the longevity of production that it had, etc., 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 when that came out, I don't think you'd be calling it a shit game.
I think you would.
Do you think so? I think you'd be saying it. Well, I think you'd be saying it was a 7, a 7.5.
I also think that's a lazy argument as well. Like, if Schindler's List was directed by a 16-year-old, that would be more impressive. Like,
all right.
What are we talking about?
I'm sorry to say there's a lot of...
If that goal Lionel Messi just scored was scored by a toddler, you would change your opinion on it, let me tell you. Yes, of course I would.
I'm not saying if it was made by an indie. I'm saying if it was still a AAA development game, I think a lot of people who were annoyed by Starfield
let's take Bethesda out and I'll put in another game studio and you tell me if your idea still holds true, okay?
Okay.
Starfield.
Yeah.
By Ubisoft. Shit game. It doesn't matter.
Well, I wouldn't have known about it because they wouldn't have marketed it.
Well, true.
Exactly.
But it's just like...
Okay, fair enough.
Starfield aside, I think...
There's a weird thing in this... Currently, there is a weird thing in this day and age, and it seems to have happened multiple times now, whereas solid studios seem to release subpar offerings that should have seemed like easy wins. It's happened quite a few times in the last few years. And I think that... I don't know. Maybe I'm being very lenient on Bethesda, and I think that they shouldn't get as much. Because Joe, I feel like I would have stopped playing that game if it was as shit as everyone says it is, and I kept playing it because I was like, oh, this game's all right.
No, you do that sometimes.
What? Just keep playing.
You just do
just
that.
stick with it.
You do just do
through
that
stubbornness.
sometimes,
It
Yeah,
is.
I'm gonna finish this crap piece of shit.
yeah. You
To be fair,
Maybe.
there is
Maybe.
there is an Alex Jones element to all of this. You're right.
Some
It's-
games you finish by accident as well. Do you ever do that where you just realize that you've played it enough that it's finished?
Yeah.
And
So,
then you're
it's
like,
ended. Oh, okay.
How did I do that?
That was that game. Then.
Whereas other games you seem to play forever and they never
Yeah.
finish. And you're like, oh.
yeah.
But look, I think the crux of it is this. I think the optics of it is people get concerned that Xbox are doing bad things. But in my point of view, like when you actually stop and step away from it and look at the bigger picture, I think they are doing everything right, while PlayStation potentially maybe not doing everything wrong, but have done a lot of damage. And now it's up to fucking who is it, Herman Hulst, to
Yeah.
kind of pick up the reins, and whoever the Japanese president of PlayStation at the moment is, like they've got to work themselves back up. But I think what's lucky for them is that a lot of the public perception is not actually stepping back
Mm.
and looking at the bigger picture. They're still right there in the forefront, and in the forefront, PlayStation is killing it, but it's not. It's not killing it at all. And
Yeah.
if you look at that most recent state of play that they had, I know you were very happy with what you guys saw,
But only because of Death Stranding.
yeah, sure, but ultimately, okay, when you look at that as the look at it this way, the first state of play that you've got in a year, it's got to be a case of saying this is our best foot forward for the rest of the year, and I just don't think it was that.
No, you're absolutely right. Let's make no mistakes about it. Like 2024 for PlayStation at the moment is, hopefully. Well, actually, no, DS2 is 2025, so it's not even that. It's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That's the slam dunk.
Yeah.
It's Rise of Ronin. It's Stellar Blade,
Mm.
and
Which
and
we
it
would
was,
say,
and it was Helldivers 2.
which
So, like,
worryingly, the amount of coverage that they got
Well,
in that state
it
of play
goes back-
was like, why have we spent half an hour just looking at those two games? Like, oh, this is our 2024. This is what we're
It
getting.
goes back, Chris. This is another thing so you would have missed. I don't know if you remember having anything to chime in on at the time, but obviously not quite E3. Summer Game
Yeah.
Fest, I guess,
Yeah.
2023, and the PlayStation Showcase, where of course they unveiled a lot of their live service titles like Concord and Fail Safes and like weird stuff like that. And you're like, okay. And then you sat there and you realized that other than a big splash for Spider-Man 2 at the end, the Last of Us multiplayer isn't here, and it turns out the Last of Us multiplayer doesn't even
It's not
exist
coming,
anymore.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember talking at the time, go back and watch like the same E3 relative to the life cycle of the PS4, and it was E3 2016, and it was like, oh yeah, Death Stranding 1's a thing, Spider-Man's a thing, but also Horizon Zero Dawn is a thing, and God of War is a thing, and Days Gone is a thing, and Shadow of the Colossus is a thing, and they were just going fucking mental.
Yeah.
And now you're sat there going like, I don't know what Concord is, but I hope it's fun.
Is this the result of the extended game development process now? Because they had to have made these plans so long ago in order for us to be seeing the fruit now. In that
I think Sony have admitted as much that there was a shift internally towards live service titles.
100%.
And there was all those talk. Do you remember that there was all that talk about part of the reason they bought Bungie was for their expertise and how Bungie had a hand in the initial delays that the Last of Us multiplayer suffered because they said it wasn't up to snuff. And now some of that stuff is bearing fruit with Helldivers. Some of it's still coming, like Concord and Failsafe. But there does also seem to be an admission that I think live service game development is the more lucrative way of going about things, but it's the more risky way of going about things.
Sure.
And there's a higher rate of project cancellation. There's a higher rate of project failures. And I do think the pendulum, and this is why we're kind of looking at 2025 for PlayStation 5 in the way we are, there will be a pendulum swing back the other way where we'll get our Concords and our fail-safe this year, and more of them will fail. Even things that look promising out of the gates, like the finals, will disappear into the ether. And I think
Foam Stars
as well. Yeah, even with the PlayStation Plus launch boost, like there will still be people who will say, "But what if we're the next Helldivers?" And that will motivate some people. But I do think there will be a swing back towards the prestiged, packaged, premium title.
I think it's happening already.
Yeah, and I think, and this hopefully this isn't just blind optimism for me. I think that PlayStation still have a chance. I don't know how you feel about this, Chris, with some of your thoughts on PlayStation at the moment. but I think there's a chance they end the generation on a surprisingly strong note when things like Naughty Dog's next game and Wolverine and stuff like that all come about in 2025, 6, 7, and all of a sudden the last 3 years of the 2 to 3 years of the generation are populated by some very big, however many, like 10, 15, 20 million.
Before
units
Chris
selling.
comments on that, can I remind you of the Sony quote that we heard recently, which was that Sony told investors they won't release any big first-party games of their main franchises before 2025.
Yeah, but at the same time,
which is like a year and a half away, a year away, whatever.
But that's in the same token. We know they're working on them. Like, we know Naughty Dog are making something. We know Sucker Punch are making something. We know Insomniac are making everything.
It's gone, Chris. What are you saying? Big finish for PlayStation before they move on?
And I think there will be. And I think, you know what the thing is? Their foundation is such that that's all they really need to do to end off that generation at a bang. But I'd be
does that give them a pass?
Well, this is the thing.
Because they started strong.
I'd be remiss to say
if they finish strong. Do you reckon that means that we'll all got amnesia for the years in the middle when we didn't really have much going on?
I just lament the consumer. I know I'm sounding like fucking, I don't know, CNBC here, but I do like partly because I'm a fucking consumer, and how many fucking PlayStation games have I bought compared to PlayStation 4? Like, it's a bit ridiculous, actually. Like, it's from a consumer point of view, when we are spending X amount of money buying into X kind of ecosystem, or maybe I should say PS ecosystem, it's like, why do we have to have a good launch followed by a strong finish to feel good about a generation?
And then a damp squib middle.
Yeah, like
it's like a middle-aged man. All right top, all right bottom, squidgy in the middle.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about like intercourse, like starting quite strong, full of energy. In the middle,
fails.
You get a bit sweaty, you get a bit tired. It turns to spaghetti a little bit. And
he just rolls over and goes, "You get on top."
Yeah, you have to cram it in with your thumb, and it's like once it's in, it will stay in. But like it's spaghetti right now, so bear with
And then
me.
for the last minute, he's like, "Oh, energy again! I'll finish it off."
Yeah, he's like, actually, this is.
But it's
tiring, but it's working.
It's not fair on the consumer, and I just think it's like a completely missed opportunity for PlayStation. Like it's clear that we've got no skin in the game of who's our top, like, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. Like, it's all good, don't mind. But it just kind of feels like it you know what it feels like with Jim Ryan specifically. It's like, oh yeah, we fucking won out the gate, so that's all we need to do.
Is there not some but because when we're talking about game development and how long it takes and everything, I would assume a big part of this was games that should have started development 2020, and obviously because of COVID and everything,
yeah, sure.
There's now we've got a bit of a spot, a hole where some games that would have kicked off development hardcore then and been releasing now, because you have to imagine that when they had the PlayStation 5 life cycle in front of them, they had some like tentpole games that they were like, yeah, bang, bang, like 24, 23, 24, 24. These are the games that are going to be big for us. And then 2023 and 24, they weren't like, actually, we need a couple more to slide into there.
I see what you're saying. And I don't necessarily disagree with it. But there is another side of this, which is saying, if that's the case, okay, how long do you need to develop a game? Okay?
Yeah,
we're in 2024.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think what we could say is, like, so we've seen Kojima come out and say, okay, here's Death Stranding 2. It's going to come out next year. Okay. So let's take an idea of games coming out in 2025. Okay.
Yeah.
And work back even to the start of COVID with the launch of the PS5. That's 5-year development cycle. I know it's not the easiest 5-year development cycle.
Yeah.
But a 5-year development cycle could get you some pretty fucking sick games, even by today's AAA standards.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yes,
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, when we've got a state of play at the beginning of the year to show you what the future of PlayStation is going to look like.
Yep.
And that's what you show, that's not good enough.
Agreed. I do agree
like,
that state of play.
Yes.
Was,
I understand the sentiment, and we've been proponents of it as well, saying like, hey, maybe just don't announce stuff if you're not ready or sure when the release will be. But there is the difference there is like saying, okay, but we also want to know that there is some cool shit coming.
Yes, yeah. Like, we used to joke about, like, all the time, how easily Ubisoft could crush a press conference by just teasing Splinter Cell with one sound effect. Like, sometimes hearts and minds aren't that hard to win.
Yeah. So
It is true. I mean, it is very difficult and it is tricky because to know what's going on exactly and where things are falling down, where things are failing. But I completely agree that PlayStation
Jonesy,
have not done.
just
have
fucking
definitely not done enough.
get Insomniac to just stop making one of their 50 games and just
And just
make
put some
another
out.
fucking Wolverine trailer.
I'm-
I understand why they maybe didn't because of the leak and everything, but like
That's what they need to do.
they've clearly got a lot in the a
Yeah.
lot of plates boiling.
Just
Take a little ladle and give us a little scoop.
give us some
We don't even need a
gameplay.
fucking
Just give
release
us
date.
Wolverine just stabbing someone
But,
right through.
Like Jamie, you were saying
Nice.
it the other day on the Super Show pod. Were you saying,
Oh.
"Oh, nice. I'm
You're a listener, right?
I'm a long time listener, first time caller." We were talking about
We should
Death
get you on more
Stranding,
often. Yeah.
and we're saying that first trailer came out, and we're like head scratches. Then the second trailer, and
Yeah.
then the third trailer, and it's just like it was a nice build up for that particular game.
Yes, it was.
All right, and why can't we have similar build ups?
I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you.
I can tell you why. Because Jim Ryan didn't put
Well,
his finger out.
I know-
You're laying a lot of blame
No,
at the
but
feet
then-
of
I
Jim
am
Ryan.
because you're not.
But then-
He should deserve it. And if it's not him, here's the thing.
Captain
He's
goes down with the ship.
He's the captain of the ship, and if the captain fucking gets, if the ship gets stranded on an island, blame the fucking captain. Like that's
Yeah.
just a
But
simple
then
fact.
build up such like I remember the build up to God of War Ragnarok, which ended up being a phenomenal game, not
Yeah.
pleasing everyone,
Fair.
least of all Jonesy. And like I remember you, I don't know how much you want to reminisce about this, but you were getting pretty deep into some conspiracy theories about when it would come out and how big it was and how much work they'd done, how much of a fully fledged secret it would be because of the cadence of trailers and the length of trailers, or how much was being shown in trailers.
Yes, 'cause
Like it's a fine art.
no, it is for sure. But I would even say that the DS2 is an interesting one for me because I know whilst I was happy with the DS2 trailer, I know you were very happy with the DS2
DS2.
trailer. I know a lot of people.
Please, DSTOTB.
Sorry, I didn't. On the beach, still the worst name in gaming. I know a lot of people that would not have been happy that was the thing that a lot of PlayStation fans would be hanging their hat on because they were like not interested in Death Stranding 1, didn't think it was that great, didn't really get it, and were like, Death Stranding 2, really? And that kind of worries me a little bit in that the biggest, most exciting thing in the state of play for me, a lot of people I know, when I say to them, did you see State of Play? Did you see Death Stranding 2? And they're like, oh, I've not bloody Death
But then
Stranding
if a
2.
state of play is a thing that happens every month or two, I don't think it matters what you quote unquote hang your hat on.
Yeah, but
But
it
that's
doesn't happen every month, though.
like the next, could be the next
It should
2
do.
years or whatever. We like Chris was saying,
Well, it's
there's
because
a
there's
lot
nothing
of
else
stuff.
that's been announced that it can start,
yes.
which then taps back into what Chris is saying about when do you build the hype cycle and like why, like when is the right time to start teasing or showing logos.
I mean, to be fair,
But then
it's right now it's shifted to Summer of Gaming, right?
Yeah, but then you can't please everyone.
That wasn't even that good, was it? Like with the announcements and stuff. And
Well,
a lot of people.
it was a lot better than the year before, and the year before was a lot better.
Yeah,
than
and
the year
now that
before,
E3 has
so-
been officially
Yeah.
86 completely, I guess it's.
It all depends on
anything's gonna-
like what teams are ready for at different times. Like
Very true.
Like Ubisoft were in a weird situation where in 2023 at Summer Game Fest they were in a good spot for a few things, and we had the first proper look at Avatar. We had Star Wars Outlaws, which I
Yeah.
think caught a lot of people off guard. We
Yeah.
had Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Like all of a sudden, Ubisoft, for as much as they are still kind of in a sticky patch right now in the midst of Skull and Bones release, they had a strong show. It's all about timing, but I can totally appreciate that. Like marketing teams are panicking the world over because on the one hand, you want to start building an awareness and building a hype and building a community and a fan base and so on and so forth, and yet on the other hand, the Elder Scrolls 6 and Metroid Prime 4 are still being openly mocked for how badly they got it wrong with their, well, and don't get me wrong, Bethesda intentionally got the ES6 reveal, quote unquote, wrong. Like that was very much on purpose. But I don't think that was a plan with Metroid Prime 4 to announce it and then disappear for 6 years or whatever it's been.
But then again, that's Nintendo. Nintendo do what Nintendo do. So.
They do, but they don't often do that.
Speaking of Nintendo,
Oh, yeah.
Switch 2.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to. We've obviously already touched on the fact that Nintendo are kind of a beast unto themselves.
Yeah, and I think you guys have already spoken about how all the reports are saying that the Switch 2 is going to be coming out beginning of next year.
Yep.
Which is fair timing. I would have thought that maybe they would have tried to bring it in for holiday season this year.
I mean, that would make a lot of sense if they could get it out before Christmas.
Well, because like looking at their first party output, Princess Peach.
Oh yeah.
Super costume fun time, and
dress up Peach.
Yeah, and a remake of
Mario and Donkey Kong. Yeah,
like
it's not a lot.
That's not a lot. And I was thinking that when they first announced those at the end of last year, I was kind of saying, this makes perfect sense. Those are their 2 wind down games.
Yes.
They're getting, and that's it for their first party. And clearly that rings true because there's no other mention of first party Nintendo stuff.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get ready for, let's say, a March reveal of Switch 2.
Yeah.
With the launch getting close or ready to be launched for holiday season 2024.
Okay. So this is where we get to the juicy, meaty, fruity part. You did not like Jamie and I's perspective on a couple of aspects that we talked about of Switch 2. And so I'm going to get you to talk about them.
Yeah, but this is awkward now because I don't really remember what.
Oh, no, I'm going to give them to you. There's only a couple that I'm going to touch on.
Yeah.
And you have history of nailing hardware and compatibility issues. So when it comes to the backwards compatibility of Switch 2's ability to play Switch 1 games, I think Jamie and I agreed that Switch 2 would probably not be able to play Switch 1 games because they're going to want to resell.
Yeah.
Or is that not what you said?
I don't remember what I said.
I said it wouldn't. I said they will. I said it is Nintendo. They will do everything they can to remake games from the Switch to re-release on the Switch 2.
I think there's a part of Nintendo that would love
compatibility.
If we're talking about upgrades, like the prospect that the thing that people are going to be talking about very openly is there a way of playing a better looking or better running version of either of the Zelda games?
PS4, PS5 upgrade version kind of thing.
Sure.
You own the game, you pay for an upgrade.
I think I can see Nintendo charging for that.
I can see, what's it called? Mario Kart 8 re-released for full price for the Switch 2 and is not compatible. So what are you saying?
Yeah. So I think initially I was thinking that the Switch 2 would not have backwards compatibility.
Okay.
I was pretty staunch on that one actually.
Right.
But I think I've kind of softened on it, but it's hard to tell, fellas. Let's do some group therapy.
Okay.
So, are you ready?
Chris, lie down. This is no. Like, no,
you've ruined the show. You've ruined the show.
You're putting your nits to my pillow.
Right, so
you're getting Jamie's bed bugs.
You're getting something really special right now, the folks at home.
All right. Well, look. Traditionally, what's happened with Nintendo when they had backwards compatibility is that there was a way for you to utilize the same kind of disc.
Yep.
Okay. But really, when was there backwards compatibility? NES to SNES? No.
Nope.
SNES to Dreamcast? No. Dreamcast to GameCube? No. GameCube to Wii? Yes.
You're outside of my comfort zone now.
Wait, hang on.
I wasn't Dream Zone.
I started drifting off at some point. Yeah, the Dreamcast got mentioned. That's a Sega console.
Oh, sorry. I meant
N64.
N64, yes.
N64.
One thing I will say.
It definitely did not work on the Dreamcast.
I can't play Sonic Adventure 2 on the GameCube.
I was like, you're out of my comfort zone already.
I wasn't
Nintendo at that time.
Rapidly changing form factors. From cartridges to slightly different cartridges.
But this is what I'm saying.
To small discs to big discs.
Yes. So
they have been getting better.
So the only reason that we had backwards compatibility was because, yes, you could take a small disc and put it into the big slot. Story of my life. I know all about it.
Then you lie down again because there's clearly more to work through.
Then I never had a Wii U, so I don't know, but I imagine it was the same kind of crack going on there. Okay, then went to Switch, and Switch obviously went back to cartridges from discs. So if we think about what the form factor for the Switch 2 will be, it would make sense to use the exact same cartridges. They haven't hit the theoretical limit of those cartridges per se, especially because they kind of supplementing it by downloads.
I was going to say, I don't know the statistics, but I would have thought that the majority of Switch players are now downloading rather than using cartridges. I mean,
but you will never get away from using a cartridge on a Nintendo device.
Don't think it's possible that they just go completely downloadable?
No, I mean for you and me, sure, but for kids,
there's too many Nintendo Switch 2 under Christmas trees every year for that to be like a digital only console.
Yeah, like you got to remember the thing with Nintendo that people forget so often. It's a fucking kids company.
Yes.
It's a kids company where their stuff just happens to kind of.
Some 35-year-olds play it as well.
Oh, and they also had just the worst online infrastructure and
it's nasty.
The server side, like they are so behind when it comes to the internet in general.
Like embarrassingly behind.
Yes.
Almost like as if we're living in a simulation kind of behind. But so look, in terms of like form factor, there's no reason why they can't be backwards compatible. And I think actually, if they're looking, and this is the thing, because I'm coming at it from a point of kind of logic, and as we've just said, in terms of Nintendo and how they've been doing their online presence, etc., they seem to completely lack any sense of logic whatsoever. So who knows if this holds true?
Okay.
Right? But every console that they've had that's come out after another console, save for maybe the SNES, has not been as successful as the one that came before it, right? So,
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
all right. So GameCube was less than N64. As an
Right.
example,
I see.
okay, if you
See.
kind of like pair them up.
So yeah, okay.
I mean, the SNES was definitely more successful than the NES.
Yeah, but it also launched in the States, whereas the NES I don't think necessarily did.
Super Famicom.
Anyway, so or it did it, but it wasn't focused on the States, like the SNES was. Anyway, so what the most clear example of this is Wii and Wii U.
Right.
There was no kind of differentiating factor for parents to understand and what there, and it was a flop because like, oh, is this
Right.
just Wii HD? Okay, blah blah blah. Nintendo need to be very careful of their proposition going in with Switch 2, whatever they call it. I'm hoping it's Super Switch, but it probably won't be. Also sounds like a bit of a sex term.
Super
I don't know.
Switch.
I feel like we could also have either the best named podcast or the worst named podcast.
Yeah.
Which gets sued immediately and they just take it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so
They would also have the SS problem, which is again, we could just look at all their branding exercises and we rework ours.
and be like, hey, so if you want to have a proper value proposition and a differentiating factor, you could say, make a big deal with your marketing that, hey, you can play all your old Switch games. But then again, we also know that Nintendo loves money.
They do.
They wouldn't want to do that because, hey, why do that when you can remaster things? But the other side of the coin is they can't remaster or re-release a remaster or re-release in the next generation. Although maybe they can, because if all they have to do is look at fucking what PlayStation would be doing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe would be called if they re-released it again.
Super. I think Super.
Deluxe. Yeah,
Super
Super.
Deluxe.
Or imagine if they go back to the thing they tried a few times in the DS range by using the word new as though it's... So imagine if
New Super Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Oh,
advanced.
Yeah, oh god, I don't want to think about it. The prospect of that console potentially being called the new Nintendo Switch and like trying to explain to people.
Nah, but they won't do that, and I'll tell you why.
I know,
Because
I
they had the
agree.
3DS, and then they had the new 3DS, which is effectively the same.
I
So
know.
they've already kind of
But-
set that precedent.
But it is funny to me, like
Yeah, I reckon it's just going to be called Switch 2.
well,
So
honest checks out.
on the backwards compatibility, I'm going to hold you guys to it. So you're saying yes, backwards compatibility with Switch 1 games, but there will be, from what I get from you saying, there will be Switch 2 games that only work on the Switch 2.
Yeah, inevitably. But what I'm saying is, I am less certain now as
Okay.
to what it will actually be. But it would make sense that they do include backwards compatibility. Yeah.
Jamie is saying yes, backwards compatibility, but they'll upgrade system kind of like PlayStation do, where you can kick it up to the higher resolutions or frame rates and things.
I don't know. I think that what they're going to try and do, is they're going to try and suggest that in spite of new found power and new capacity to allow games to look and play better, I don't think they're going to make it easy for games to kind of natively tap into that, so that if you put your OG Nintendo Switch Breath of the Wild cartridge into a Switch 2, that it will just start looking and running better. Like, I can see them doing packages whereby, hey, Breath of the Wild got DLC, Tears of the Kingdom could well get DLC.
Oh, yeah.
Do we
Right.
get a collection of, it's the complete version of Tears of the Kingdom, and also this is the version that looks and runs better on the
Right.
Switch 2, and people who have the cartridge for the... I don't know how they're going to do it.
Can I put
Maybe
a-
they do an upgrade system, but...
Can I put a wrinkle in all of this?
Yeah.
The rumors that they're saying about the hardware specification of the Switch 2, saying that they're going to kind of rely heavily on DLSS type
Okay.
upscaling and variable frame rates, etc.
Yeah. All those hot button issues.
Right. So then all of a sudden, if that's what you kind of on a hardware side trying to promote, then you're not necessarily going to say, oh, here's a PS5 patch of a PS4 game, because the upsell is saying it will natively upscale and improve frame rate of your existing games just
Right.
by plugging into what's
Oh,
in the
man.
hardware. So that
But
complicates things, doesn't it?
It would be a fascinating shit, because again, like, we joke about what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe stands for, But what that is, now that we know that Nintendo Switch is coming to a close and being replaced, ostensibly, that was Nintendo porting and slightly polishing up a Wii U game that no one played and getting through an entire generation with an old like one of their marquee, highest selling franchises lasted an entire generation with a port of a previous gen game and DLC. Like, no one is able to get money for old rope like Nintendo can, and it just seems like a huge revenue door to close.
I see. I'm gonna be strict with what they're gonna do. No backwards compatibility. They're gonna re-release everything they can, and there'll be some bullshit reason like, oh, sorry, we tried, but we just couldn't do it. You've got to buy a new version.
They will never even say that.
They'll just do it.
Yeah, exactly. If they don't have backwards compatibility, they'll literally have some Japanese guy just going, "There is no backwards compatibility," and then you'll just bow. And that's it.
Yes.
Like, literally, that's going to be
someone will say, "Is there?" And it'll go, "No."
Just please watch this presentation. And they do this, and then there'll be a video of a guy trying to put in a Switch 1 thing into a Switch 2, and then
just can't.
Yeah, and then an animated Bowser just smacks him off screen, does a little Bowser laugh, and then it's going to finish, and then he'll go, "Thank you for watching our presentation," and he'll bow.
You are missing one thing though. we didn't sync it, but
I know I tried, but
yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Whoa,
no, better, but it's still not quite Japan. Not the Japanese quintessential professionalism, like smooth and but basically, I think what it feels like we're all circling around is that you have to leave the door open for a Nintendo twist. Somewhere 100%. In the story.
But here's the other question I got for you guys. So we touched on it, right? With the Switch, if rumors are to be true, if they are to be believed,
the dead speak.
If Bruno Mars can be gay,
Palpatine's back.
Somehow.
Somehow Palpatine's returned.
If it comes out in the beginning of next year, what's happening with Nintendo's output for this year?
Nothing.
Is it strong enough from like residual sales of say DLC packs and race packs for Mario Kart 8 and character packs for Smash Bros that releasing those two first party games?
I legit think they're happy with their install base. I think they're happy with what they're going to launch the Switch 2 with, especially the extra things.
But we're not even into this year fully, and there's only 2 games coming out.
But I just don't think regular consumers think about it the way that we do, and I think the people that do think about things the way we do care about Nintendo the least when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think they could absolutely get by with a couple of directs where they basically say, "Here's some third-party games that are coming to Switch," and that's all that happens by the end of the year, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, there's rumored to be a partner direct like any day now.
Yeah. I thought it was meant to be on the same day that Xbox had their thing.
Yeah, but then it might have happened by the time people are listening to this. Like, that's the nature of like.
I just don't see that as being as soon as they start to get into the official marketing and release and all that blah 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 of the Switch 2, I think everyone forgets all about it, and then they start talking about release titles for Switch 2, and then the rest of this year just gets totally just like
they're still going to have to announce it this year if they're looking for an early 2025 release.
Oh yeah, of course. I don't know when. Maybe summer, I suppose, as opposed to earlier.
I think any time in the second half of the year. I think even if they do kind of that weird thing where they like announce an event, do like the Apple move, where like, hey, Apple have this mysterious event in September coming up. I wonder what they could be announcing. I wonder if it's the 16th iPhone. And I think they could do something like that. And I don't remember exactly how the Switch launch played out, but I do remember there being some mumbo jumbo about a massive event earlier on in the year that they streamed out and then it released in March.
The Switch event was the lead up to the Switch release was cool because they had those big things, and then they had fan events. I remember I went to one in London where actually
pop-ups, right?
Yeah, there were pop-ups, and I got invited to one, and that's where because I wasn't interested in Breath of the Wild at all. Because like I said, I got a complicated relationship with Zelda, and I was I'm gonna skip this one. But that was the one game that didn't have much of a queue, and I was like, oh, I'll try it out. And I was like, this is fucking amazing.
Which is hilarious to look back, I think, on now and think about that.
It's mad. So, like, they can do some cool shit. And to be fair, if that is their focus for this year, get those 2 games out of the way, announce the Switch 2, and then just take the rest of the year to drip feed info and get fan events started up, like, fucking all for it.
Yeah.
But it seems strange that they'd delay that much. Unless there's, like, an actual reason why they need to delay. Like,
Well,
supply chain issue or whatever it might be.
The rumor was it was just to strengthen the launch lineup, really.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
and that's
I don't know
and
if
that's
that was
fair.
on them or if that was on partners or if that was on both. And the Switch did burst out the gates. When you had Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey inside the first 12 months. If they do something like for as much as we've joked about it, if there is another numbered Mario Kart ready to go, if 3D Marios are ready to return to the fold, like they could have a massive launch. And
Are you saying Super Mario Galaxy 3?
I'm not going to use those words out and leave my mouth. I don't want the person sat between me and Jonesy to get an erection.
It's too late.
That
happened long ago.
Pause and zoom in for the folks at home.
Enhance.
Zoom and enhance, yeah.
Enhance
that. Jesus Christ, it's cheese. But so I again, I'm getting into fan fiction territory, but like an early 2025 Switch successor launch with a 3D Mario coming hand in hand.
That would be if
then I would
that's
be
all.
coming,
It's one of the. It's like PlayStation though. Saying about it, that's all they need. That's all that Nintendo need to do for everyone to lose their minds. Announce that and announce another Animal Crossing, and everyone's going to like shit themselves and wet themselves.
I could see. There were reports saying that the next Super Mario Kart would be a launch title for Switch. I mean, believe it or not believe it, I don't know.
I think they have to have been thinking about a Mario Kart.
Sure.
Imagine a Metro Prime 4, like just dropping as a launch.
That would be huge. That'd be huge.
Big. But
another Donkey Kong Country.
That'd be pretty amazing. Also, because of the film success, obviously recently they've got a lot of those characters that are back in sort of people's minds that they can play around.
What if they do that weird thing that like Street Fighter used to do, for example, where it's like Super Mario Brothers, the movie, the game.
EX.
Oh yeah.
EX Turbo.
EX Alpha Turbo.
They do that, maybe.
They just release a slightly faster tempo Mario Wonder, and it's like Mario Wonder Super.
Everyone's like, this is a game I was wanted.
Turbo, Turbo X.
Chris Pratt voice back.
That's a fun sentence to say for anyone who wants to have if you're sitting at home
and your Taylor Joy as well.
If you ever find yourself having a bad day and you need a little pick me up, just say the words Chris Pratt voice pack out loud, and it will make you smile. I promise that. They say I'm not a therapist, but I've just found the cure for depression.
Well, there we go.
Something that else might make you happy. The last
Chris Pratt voice pack.
It's not, but it's the last thing that I had on my my big gaming events that have happened since episode 100.
Can you install your personal Chris Pratt voice pack before you read out what's?
Oh yeah, please, yeah.
I can't do. I don't think I could do Chris Pratt. I don't even know how he sounds.
I'm just thinking, what was his name? Andy and
Toy Story.
My brain goes to Guardians of the Galaxy, and I unfortunately, Jamie, I'm going to have to say I literally cannot even think how I would do it.
You said literally there.
Literally.
Now we're talking.
Sexual.
How long has this podcast been going? It's finally getting into gear.
Too long.
Yeah, we're going to have to wrap it up. So we're gonna just put a pin in it after this last thing. GTA 6.
Oh yeah.
Reveals and leaks. Just in general, GTA 6 was a thing that we now officially know is a thing. What are you saying?
Do you not think
apparently it's coming out next year?
Nah, that's not going to fucking happen.
That doesn't feel right.
But don't you feel like it's kind of how many the lead up to it before the trailer released, or even before the meme image of the Miami-esque background saying their trailer was coming? It felt like on any social media platform you were on, at least once a week it would be a resurgence of a thing saying like, oh, GTA 6 and the trailer's coming and this, that, the other, and there's such interest in it. And then
from every direction, which is weird. Non-gaming, like non-gaming places,
but
gaming
places,
obviously.
The biggest gaming entertainment property in the world.
And we've mentioned a number of things in this podcast alone where we've talked about like games as a service, games that can make money.
Yeah.
I mean, GTA 5 is to blame for most of these things as 100%.
well. 100%. But the point I was going to make is there was this like fever pitch going into it. And then the trailer dropped, and everyone absolutely fucking loved it, and people lost their minds. And then, fucking
few people sued.
That Tom Petty song made like $1 million in the first day, whatever it is, on Spotify. Yeah. Fair enough. But kind of since then, I don't know. I just kind of feel I just feel like it kind of like died down a lot more than I expected it to. And okay, to be fair, it was one fucking trailer that. There was some stuff to dissect into, and I feel like the internet was these days very quick in kind of dissecting everything you need to dissect into it straight away, and that's why maybe it didn't have as long a tail. But I was just kind of surprised by it, I think.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit too, and like, don't get me wrong, I also feel the same way in that when I like think back or reflect on the time that has passed since that trailer dropped, it does feel like we're in a bit of like a GTA void at the moment for some reason.
Yeah.
But I feel like, given how early it was, and there was so much going on, so much speculation. Like we said, it was trending every week, and there was that weird way they rolled it out. How they, the statement they put out before saying we're going to do a trailer on this date and at this time, and of course it leaked. But
and then they said, "Oh well, fuck it, it's leaked. Here's the trailer."
Exactly.
Ruining. And I can tell you, working for companies, I'm sure you guys as well, like working for a company that has a gaming arm where everything was geared towards that minute, that hour, that minute.
I love that they did that.
And then all of a sudden, the night before, I'm frantically messaging people, being like, "The fucking GTA 6 trailers just dropped, guys, anyone?"
I love how the fact that they came out and went, "Fuck these guys, here's the trailer."
Well, yeah, that's
that was a good move. I get what you mean. Like you've queued it all up for a big release, and then someone's gone out and
I'm not saying they did the wrong thing at all. Obviously, I commend them for doing what they did, and they're Rockstar. They could get away with doing it. It's just a bit sad, I think, that it didn't pan out that way. But yeah, sorry, Jamie.
I know, the only thing I was going to say is that my feeling was that trailer was almost this like confirmation and reaffirmation that like GTA 6 is a thing. GTA 6 is real. It's here. Yes, we know you saw those leaks a long time ago, but it's called GTA 6. Yes, it's set in Vice City, and here's a hint of what we're working towards. Our marketing hasn't started yet.
Right.
And there will be a point, if 2025 is still realistic, it's impossible to say, but then there will be a point like later on in this year where the marketing cycle feels like it's begun in earnest in more of a way, and like the cadence of the trailers will become more predictable. What's the kind of the breadcrumb trail that's left in between those trailers makes more sense. But like even if that doesn't happen, like the same thing happened with Red Dead Redemption 2, where it like appeared, gave almost nothing away, gave far less away than GTA just did, and then disappeared for a whole year.
Yeah,
and the day it came back, everyone was like, "Oh shit, it's Red Dead again," and it disappeared again. And it came back, and it wasn't until, for me, I remember, it wasn't until the third Red Dead Redemption 2 trailer where I was like, "Okay, it feels like they're starting to promote a game that's about to come out."
Was that the keep your mama in?
When your mother's finished wanting your father, I'll keep her black. I think that was the second one. Right. The third trailer was the one that actually had the slightly solemn tone, and there's a lot of Dutch in it going, "You have to love yourself a fire."
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the blessings.
What was the thing they used to say to you from that trailer that you absolutely despised? I used to say to you over and over again.
Is it, "You got some money for me, boy?" I seen your name now.
I see.
Oh,
you got some money for me, boy?
Yeah.
I seen your
like
name.
Every day at ATG, I'd like come up to you.
No, that wasn't the one that annoyed me.
Which one was the one that annoyed you?
You doing that? I think I'm thinking I'm back or whatever from John.
Oh yeah, there was that.
I was so done with that.
There was that, but there was also, I think it was like, "I seen your name and
where's our money?"
Out of a senior name in our ledger, you keep asking I'm back, I'm thinking I'm back, and I'm dancing.
Oh my god!
If you had to pick a least favorite,
what's the most okay? Two-sided question. What's the most annoying thing Jonesy's ever said to you, and what's the most annoying thing I've ever said to you?
Oh god! I mean, you're asking me to rewind through almost 12 years of history now. Although you weren't saying that many annoying things to me in the early stages.
I think for me it'll be when I bark at him and say that's how he sounds.
The fact that I can do an impression of your impression of me tells you everything you need to know about how bad your fucking impression is. I don't sound like a dog.
I love it.
I don't know. Like, just the real
answer. I remember the other one. It was from Batman versus Superman.
What was they saying that?
What was that?
Tell me, do you bleed?
Oh yeah, that one.
I don't remember that.
That one never got too annoying.
Right.
Like the soft answer would probably be one of those. The John Wick one, for some reason, that really did bother me at the end.
Because Chris said it every single day to you.
But I said it because it pissed him off.
Because like people look at the SuperShow and it's us three and we're hanging out, but like for most of the time we were in an office with other people who weren't tuned into the same bullshit we were. So for me to just be sat at my desk, like surrounded by people I liked and respected, and to have Chris come and stand over my shoulder, like whispering John Wick quotes in my ear, and people were looking over at me, probably thinking we were gay lovers. And I'd be like, I'm normal. Just I want everyone to know these are my mates, but I am also normal.
For me, it was every time we were in the VO booth, and then Chris and I would do the "I'm dancing," and you would just be like, "For God's sake!"
The deep sigh.
Yeah, well, that's the claptrap effect. I think that's what we call that. The Claptrap effect.
Oh,
That'll
man.
have its own Wikipedia page soon. Out of date, cringe boomer humor, aka the
Boomer
Claptrap
humor. Yeah, to be fair.
effect. But you two never got my nerves. That every now and then you slag off my toothbrush or piss in my toilet with the door open while singing Peter Andre's Mysterious Girl. Who could say when these events happened in the long timeline of our
knows?
friendships? But that's what makes you who you are.
Oh, well.
There you go.
So never that annoying, in short. Plus, the fact that I don't even have the balls to reverse the question to either of you two only goes to show how my fear is for like how annoying I am. Like there must have been voiceover sessions where you just wanted to slit my throat.
Oh, mate, yeah. The voiceover sessions.
Never because of you. You're only the worst ones is in the summer when we all three of us were in there, and then we'd open the door and we'd go and stand over the aircon unit because it was so fucking hot.
And the walls were just drenched.
Dripping
God.
sweat.
You could write your name in the sweat.
For me, it was just those VO sessions for ATG 6 lists where you guys would just yammer, and we'd never get started.
Shut
and
up!
It would be like, guys, we've been in this fucking hot, stinky booth for half an hour and we haven't even hit record yet.
I loved it because there were points as well.
I get so hyped up
with the fluctuations of that company that like I would be hanging out with the two closest things I had to a boss, and I'm like, if they're both here with me doing the same thing I'm doing, I'm not getting in any kind of trouble.
Who's gonna tell me off? No one. Yeah. Fair.
Oh man.
Right. Well, we've covered everything that I was going to mention. This is, I suppose, the end of episode 200. End of an era.
That is an end of an era. So what's 200? What's the next one? 201.
201.
Yeah. I honestly, like, it feels at this juncture, and I don't mean this like in a pessimistic or depressing way, I just mean this in all honesty, it feels very difficult to predict what the next 100 episodes will bring. And you could tell me that there'll be an episode 300 that plays out in a similar way to this, and I'd go, yeah, like I could see that, the status quo just kind of sticking for another 52 weeks. Or you could tell me anything else in between that, and I'd kind of believe you.
I think you guys need to just work on your bickering for a little
Bicker
bit.
more.
We need
More bickering.
More bickering. Okay,
Yeah.
note one.
More bickering. More dick jokes.
More Asa Akira.
A little bit more throat cancer would be good every now and then.
Forgot about that.
Oh,
yeah.
Not just not enough Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas.
Not enough
that's
of
it.
Cameron Zeta-Jones's pussy, basically, is what Chris is saying.
I mean, I was alluding to it, yeah, but yes. Yeah, and I guess, you know, as a avid listener, I look forward to what happens next at the Super Show. And I mean, I don't know if you guys would have me back, but at some point I would like to return on a more regular
See you in
basis.
2 years.
That was a question I had.
So you have 300.
That was the question I had for you most going into this, is that, as you said, like, you describe yourself as a listener, and by now I'm sure it's been long enough that you feel much more of a listener than you, like, the idea that you were ever, like, a fixture must feel a little bit almost like foreign in a sense.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what would you like the future to look like in terms of how much of a part you have to, like, assuming that,
Voice notes. He's just going to send
like,
us
yeah,
weekly voice
yeah,
we
notes.
play them into the microphone.
I mean, honestly, maybe that's a good shout, because look, the problem is that I haven't been able to catch you guys live for a very long time.
Sure.
Just the nature of life, etc.
Yeah.
But maybe
Tuesdays, 9 p.m.
well, they're in the
Yeah,
future.
which
Well,
is-
after this episode, is that what the
We've-
2001 is going to be on Tuesday?
Well,
Did you hear it
to be
first?
fair, the last three episodes have been on a Tuesday.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
what
that's true. Yeah.
I've fucked up like 3 Mondays in a row by like double booking or forgetting that Chelsea are playing or doing something, and it's so easy to just
Oh
go,
yes, so football comes first. Yeah.
Well, no, but like I also share a flat with a man who supports the same football team. I share a flat with a man, like, I'm not gay. I'm not gay.
But there'd be
What's
nothing
wrong
wrong
with
if you were.
It's not.
If you
about
wanna
right
come
or
out-
wrong, it's about clarification.
If you want to
Like,
come out and admit that you are with,
I think the problem is he's coming in.
oh,
So
I was gay and I'm done.
wow,
No, that's
it's
also
going
a
off the
joke.
rails.
That's also a joke.
But
Um,
what I was getting at is, if you guys settle more in terms of when you record and go live, and my life settles a bit more where I can be there for when the live is, then maybe it's just the case of just like, if you set up a scene on OBS, and then I can like call in. Oh,
oh right, like
Oh, like, yeah.
I've got a caller coming in from London,
Yeah.
England.
midnight caller
Chris.
Gobble gobble.
What?
I don't know.
Jiggly. Gobble,
It's turkey
gobble.
time.
It's turkey time.
But yeah, maybe that could be a cool thing because like often I listen to the podcast and just be like, I wish I could say something here.
I already know what's
And
going
the
to
funny
happen.
thing is, you can.
What?
Chris is going to call in and go, fuck her right in the pussy, and then just hang up.
No, actually, Chris doesn't.
Guarantee for the very first time, that's what's going to happen.
You kind of look like that guy as well. Like if you wore sunglasses.
Oh, I thought I was wearing my hoodie. I was going to put it up.
With the hood, yeah.
That's why I reached back.
No, I get
No,
you.
I don't know. Like even if it's just like actually sitting in front of my computer and just going live with you guys, that'd be cool. It's just I've been planning to do a lot more than let's say I have because I've done zero of that.
Sure.
The intention has always been there, but usually the logistics just don't work out, which is part of the reason why I had to just step away in the first place.
Yeah.
I can't necessarily say that things have gotten better in that front. But yeah.
Life is busy.
Yeah. Same go for twitch.tv/Hot Panic.
Oh,
Is the-
fuck yeah, man.
Like the door's still open?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I'd like to, but
Hot tub streams.
gotta find the time. Well, this is the thing. Like, I know you guys are probably well past ATG stuff, but I do still very much get annoyed and angry about what happened there, and still nostalgic for everything that's happened. And then you do. Yes, it's rose tinted glasses, but you do pine for the times of the ATG plays. They were. It was stressful in terms of like our views and our performance, but in terms of like just fun.
Yeah.
A day at work, like I fucking long for it so much. Not to say I don't like the work I'm doing now, I do, but it hit different.
Yes. No, it did hit differently, yeah, for sure. And it's blimey, 4 years ago now. Over 4 years ago.
Man.
Shocking.
Yeah, crazy to think.
Yeah, like I would very much love if ever it came to a part where let's say SuperShow grows, etc., and then we say, oh yeah, we can just do like SuperShow plays and get involved in that. Like I remember I met up with you guys towards the end of last year for some chicken wings, some buffalo wings, and
Yes.
you still haven't done it, Jamie, by the way. But I reminded you of that clip that we had during lockdown when we were playing Human Fall Flat with Steph.
Oh right, yeah.
And there was some shenanigans happening.
Oh, yeah.
There
happening
were
on
some
screen.
shenanigans.
I still need you to send me that video,
Yes,
please,
no, you
because
do.
it was gold. But yeah, like the thing is, like during lockdown, we managed to do it. We managed to meet up a lot more than we did. Maybe because there was a reason to with Warzone. I mean, I'm not saying just purely the lockdown, because I mean, nighttime is nighttime, right? Like it is what it is.
Sure.
But I think with Warzone being what it was, and
Kept a lot of people sane, mostly middle-aged men
Yeah.
and their young friends.
and they're young.
That just makes you sound like a fucking peanut.
Not that young, Jesus.
I'm a middle-aged man, and this is my young friend.
Jonesy cruising Roblox for
Yeah.
a hot day.
Jamie.
How many Robux would it cost me to see you in your tighty whities?
Fucking hell, Roblox, man. The bane of my life.
Robux. Oh, don't tell Daddy I bought you a Robux card.
Open up your Robux.
Well, we're getting weird now.
Spread them.
I think, anyway, it's time to say goodbye to the people at
On
home.
that bombshell.
Yeah,
Is that okay? Wow, yeah. Episode 200.
let's put a
Fair
pin in
enough.
it. Cheers, Chris.
Yes, thank you guys.
Yeah, no,
Thank you for being the
thank
special
you
guest.
for
I hope
coming down and
I'm
for being
not
here.
waiting for another milestone to join you guys for the next
Well,
one.
you're welcome, whether it's a milestone or not. The door's always open. We love having you. We know that there are still countless people out there listening and watching who love to hear the sound of your voice, to see your face, and to hear your hot takes and trash opinions.
Yeah, let me know when this becomes the lowest rated episode that you've ever put out.
Never. That's
and
not going to
then
happen at all.
We'll see what happens from there on out.
We're gonna have to put your face in the thumbnail just to give it a bit of a bump.
Shall I
Yeah.
give you I'll give you the thumbnail to do still of.
Yep. Get ready to zoom and enhance again. You've already done it once this episode to see if he had an erection. Now you're doing it for his.
Now he's got his reaction faces
Yeah.
on. Look at that.
Something else I just noticed. I think it's very poetic that as we are sunsetting this episode of the podcast, we have gone from an abundance of natural daylight to just being sat in basically the pitch dark, and the viewfinder looks grim.
I didn't want to say anything, but
Oh.
look, because so we got the viewfinder pointed towards us.
Yeah,
Looking at the setup with the couch and the colors and the temperature of the lights.
yeah.
You know that video of those three kids sitting on the couch, and it's like the meme of like talking about world events or something. It
Yeah.
does kind of look
Yeah.
like that a bit. It's like, oh,
Turns out those 3 kids all grew up.
They all grew up, and hey, you're listening to them right now.
Okay, I thought you were going to make a casting couch reference, but no, that was.
I mean,
far more
I did.
appropriate. We do have Big Daddy Roebucks over there.
Daddy Robux. Hey, I was promised a gangbang. That's why I agreed to come.
Don't worry,
to,
those guys are coming in after. Don't
yeah.
worry.
Yeah.
They're waiting outside right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Just Interesting crew are going to roll in here afterwards, and we'll leave you to them.
Shout out the JI team.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, with that, thank you very much for watching episode 200, and we will see you again next week, probably on a Tuesday, but we'll have to just nail that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will see you again real soon. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.